But, New Hampshire is in a way that won't be, too critical, won't be a bad one. And then the next guy says, well, we probably won't get a recession. We may get a condition that mimics a recession, but it's not really a recession. So, whatever.
It mimics it, but it's not.
Yeah.
How can that be?
It's
Alrighty then.
someone's opinion.
It's worth the 17 cents a day.
Hey, Neil.
Hey, everybody. Is it 5 yet?
Almost.
Very nearly. Got 1 minute, huh?
Not for coffee though.
Yeah, I got the coffee.
Neil, your W-2 is with your package this week, so
Yeah.
do I need to send that home or it'll get home safely?
Should I take it with me?
That's right.
You're very concerned about our ability to get envelopes home.
I am, because sometimes they get lost in the stacks of papers that we give you.
Well, I bring the stacks home, but then I toss the stacks when I get home, so I'll probably stack me, I'll throw out whatever that is.
And if it says classified, you'll just leave it on the stack.
There you go. By your Corvette. or-
Put it in the garage, no.
Yeah,
Mike's here.
just
You want
five
this one?
documents.
Sure.
More than that.
All right, it's 5 o'clock. So work session to order. It's not a full agenda, so we just go to work, right?
Are we
Okay.
on live?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
We
are.
ought to say the pledge then.
Or if you wish to, Neil, why don't you lead us?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So just the one agenda item this evening, which is to take a look at this budget.
Yes, sir.
Are there any new changes since the last time we looked at this that are worth highlighting, or are we pretty much where we're at?
Well, I think that at one point, we had discussed the highway department. And we had, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we had 60,000 in a line to purchase a blower. Joe has decided that that blower is not the priority, but the roller
Correct.
is, and sweeper is.
Okay.
So his request is we have a couple plans that we're gonna present to the board, I think, in a couple weeks about purchasing those items. He has requested that the money for the blower go into the material handling equipment capital reserve for the year instead of in a purchase line. So he wants to put that money into capital reserve and save it for the next year. So we have upped the line 772 from 50 to 105, which includes the amount we were going to put into it anyways, and the 65 that we had in outlay.
So this is an additional, that line is up 65, and there's some other line that's down 65?
Yep, that would be the, find it here. It would be line 732.
Okay, so that one's just been zeroed effectively.
Correct.
Now, was there something else increased that was you mentioned a roller?
We're going to talk about purchasing a roller, a trailer, and a grader at a future meeting. So there's no money in here.
They're
for
not in this that's not in this budget.
No, we're going to
It's not
talk about
planned for.
purchasing, we do have plans for it, but we believe we already have the money. So we just need to talk
Out
to the.
of the current year's budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll talk to the board about that, so there's no money in, there wasn't anyways, but
Right, we've met with Joe probably 3 or 4 times now and coming up with a plan that accommodates the money that we currently have in getting the items that are prioritized based on he and Steve at this time. And Zach, just kind of an update to, if you'd like me to give just an update to where we are and how we got to today.
Yep.
Is that we met with all of the departments back on November 21st and December 19th. And we made changes as we moved through those budgets on both of those evenings. So this year, some of the differences are, and Ann and I met this morning to kind of make sure we had dotted the i's and crossed the t's, is that we're 52 weeks this year versus 53 weeks. There's a 2.5% increase, wage increase across the board. There's a 5% proposed health trust insurance increase, which would take place in the July renewal. On the warrant, we have warrant articles for a new Plymouth PD officer and a new Plymouth PD dispatcher. We have, for the Plymouth Fire Department, a new firefighter. The nonprofits have been reduced or kept equal. There's about a $11,000 reduction in what we'll be providing for assistance to them. And probably two of the biggest things that have been helpful over the last few weeks is we finally have gotten the highway department to full staff as of last Monday. We have totally a new staff on board, which are doing a great job for coming on within the last 30 to 45 days. And with regards to the ambulance in the budget, as I stated at the last board meeting, I've been meeting with Chief Morrison and Deputy Chief Pierce and their admin staff, and really looking at the budget so we can accurately reflect the ambulance budget in next year's process, which you will see a significant difference. As you'll see in this year's budget, it's $154,796. The actual expenses for the ambulance is $1,288,000. So we need to better reflect those associated costs, so when we're working with our contract towns, they fully understand what the cost of running an ambulance service is. Because if I was a town looking at $154,796 and I was receiving an invoice for $70,000+ as one of those towns, I'd be asking some questions.
Right, right.
So, Chief Morrison and Deputy Chief Pierce have been very adamant about making those changes, so next year it will reflect the true cost of what those ambulance budgets are.
Did you say that's roughly 100, what do we think that cost is actually going to be reflected as? Because currently you said 155 is what it is.
Right, the actual cost is about $1.3 million.
1.3 million.
Because the other thing that we've talked about breaking
From a
out-
town perspective, though, it's just shifting costs from one bucket to another. That's not an increase.
Right.
That's just.
Nope,
it's-
absolutely.
Yeah.
You're
Just
correct.
making that super clear.
And the other thing is making sure we're outlining where the overtime is, because that's one budget that doesn't clearly outline overtime, as well as recreation as well. It doesn't have an overtime line in that budget. So, it's been good meeting with the individual department heads and going through their budgets and learning a little bit more about their operations, their budgets, their efficiencies, and their strategic priorities over the next 3 to 6 months, which I have each of those and will be working with each department head towards those, so we're falling within the budget line and identifying future expenses as we move into the budgetary season next year, which seems far away, but it's really not that far down the road. So those are the things that really popped out at Ann and I on some of the changes that we have and some of the expenses that we'll have moving forward through town meeting.
How much does the solar array add this year?
$686,000 we have to appropriate. The expense is $70,000 in principal and $30,000 in interest.
So when we appropriate that, does it, when you have the estimated tax rate, does that
If
take
you-
into account the way that we're going to pay for that?
Yes. If you look at the very last page on page 20,
Yep.
you'll see that the 12 million that's on line 783, 12,543,997.
Yep.
That includes a payment for the $1.8 million bond. It also includes a payment for the $686,000 bond.
Where do those bond payments show up in here?
I think
In the debt
page-
service section?
They do.
Yep, 674 and... Oh, I'm confused.
677 is the, no, wait a minute.
Why is there also a 670?
Yeah, there's
So-
two for each.
Principal and interest.
Oh, so
They have
they're-
to be separated.
They're separated as
Yeah.
percentages, okay. So 100,000 for the solar array here,
And 250 for the South Main Street.
and 250 plus 35, so 285?
The 35 is the infrastructure bond from last year.
Oh, that
We're
was
down
the...
one more
okay,
line.
No, okay,
Okay.
so the 50 is the interest, and the 200, okay, I see them now. Yep, those just don't have a year on them. South Main Street project. So 250 and 100.
Yep.
And that also includes any warrant articles that have yet to be approved, correct? That bottom line.
Yes. Yep,
So if any of those are denied by the voters, then that obviously will change.
correct.
Don't we explain that in the warrant?
We do.
Okay.
Yep. When you see the warrant, which we're still working on, we're trying to get some specific wording for a couple items. You'll actually see this warrant article is worth X amount of cents per thousand. You'll see that on the warrant, yep.
Nice.
And we'll have those separated into groupings that actually make sense. Like we won't have, will we have the new police officer separate from the new firefighter,
Yes,
for
Three
example?
separate
Yes.
warrant articles for.
For one for the dispatcher,
and
one
fire.
for the fire, okay.
yep,
Absolutely.
And so then each of those will be able to say, you know, this costs
yes,
X dollars.
yes. And when you look down through the budget on the warrant articles, remember I had to pull out that amount that that person cost
Right.
out of this warrant article over here to make it its own warrant article. So we'll just, I mean, the numbers all come out right.
Yeah.
It's just, if you're looking for a specific number, make sure you understand that we had to pull them out and put them over
Yeah,
here.
well, it'll be interesting to see, it would be interesting to see what is the overall budget picture before the warrant articles, right? And then what are the warrant articles, how do they add?
How do they impact?
Right, so are we proposing a budget that is $0 in terms of increase, and then, you know, each of the warrant articles is gonna add 50 cents, 25 cents to get us to the 253, or are we starting out already, you know, plus $2.83 is coming from the
I think
warrant
it was like
articles?
$1.30 or something like that we were starting plus anyway.
Oh, no, we were looking at almost $5 to start
Oh, when we
with.
very first started, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I meant before the warrant article.
So I'll do up a worksheet and I'll send it to you and you can review if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I'm just trying to
And
make
then-
something, because this raw number right here is straight up terrifying.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you 100%. And that's just one of
We're
four.
talking the 50 million.
I'm talking a
$2.53.
$2.53 increase on a tax rate of $13.28.
But remember, that's without any revenues being applied towards that. Still, I mean, it still is high, but keeping that in mind.
I understand. I don't know, are there certain items that we expect revenues
To outperform
to
expectations.
outperform expectations, right? Like, it seems like that's
No, the only.
Say that without revenues applied, but are we talking about, oh, well, that changes it by 10 cents, or does that change it by $3? You know?
And what did it change it by this year, Ann? Do you recall? When we applied the revenues to it? When we were on the phone with Michelle?
No, but let me do up a handout, and I will submit it over for your review that you'll have for the public hearing. Okay?
Yeah, that would be helpful, I
I'll
think.
work with Scott, and we'll come up with,
And I'm happy to come in and chat with you in advance of the public hearing, just
absolutely.
so
Yeah,
that I'm,
Just not Friday, but,
no.
Okay.
I'm in town Friday anyway,
oh, good.
but next week.
Well, our public hearing is on the
Monday.
23rd.
Monday.
On Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so either Thursday or Monday, whichever is better
That's
for
fine.
you.
Okay. Just come on in and give us a call, and we'll sit down and go through it, and I'll try to come up with
Thursday
something.
afternoon, we have the mediation hearing.
Yes. We have something going on all the time, but just call.
No,
Okay.
yeah, I don't want to inconvenience you either.
We'll make it.
But the better we look during that hearing with
Mm-hmm.
having our numbers prepared.
We've tried to come up with some generalization, as Scott just put it, for the board at the hearing. I presume you're going to go through the public hearing the same way we always have. Page 1, page 2. Okay. I don't know if there's potentially in the future a better way to present it. I don't know.
Probably.
But
Well,
that's,
I mean, for anybody who's online, they're not gonna be able to see page 1, page 2.
nope.
So maybe if we
You know
had
what,
like
why
a
don't-
summary slide.
I was going to say, I could summarize each of the groups into like a PowerPoint that we could use to walk through it.
And I'll run it.
Yeah.
If you give it to me,
You wanna
I'll
do that?
I'll connect it up and you can just say next slide.
If sure.
If that works, because then we can just step through each department and we'll have it.
As much as you can give them in advance as well. I don't know if we can put this up. Can this go on the website?
Go put it on the
We
website.
can put that, okay,
Yep, we can put it under Department Selectmen,
okay.
post it right there.
Usually the warrant, we still have until like February 7th or 8th before we actually know if we have any petitioned warrant articles, so that won't go on
Yep.
until later, but
Scott, if we're gonna post that, I think we should accompany it with something that says, this is inclusive of warrant articles that have not been approved yet, just so people who are reading it don't just skip to the last page and make broad assumptions.
well, none of these have been approved, nothing
Yeah,
here.
but I think we need to put a big disclaimer on that, because somebody could draw different conclusions without reading in detail.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I think if you could share that post on social media as well.
The what's that? I'm sorry, Mary.
Share the post, not just the link to on social media. That way we can share it out too.
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
Questions or thoughts about what's here?
Did we get an answer about the effect of the revenue? Whether it's gonna be like 10 cents or $2 or,
That's what they were
We're
talking
gonna
about.
put something together, right, Ann? You're gonna,
Yeah, I'm going to put something together.
Yeah, we can only say what has historically happened. We
Right.
can't say for sure what this will be.
We also know that next year, this 253, you won't see that because we're having a full revow. So some people are going to see a lot more than 253. Others are going to see less. Some aren't going to see any increase, depending on what the revow comes out. So that value of 496 million is going to change. Next year's it's comparing apples to oranges sometimes. But we gave you with, just like any other year, we gave it
And the reval doesn't start till April,
right?
so we won't have a picture of that until probably
Till
4 or
well
5
after.
months after that.
Yeah, till we set the tax rate in the fall. Should be by September 1st, Scott. Maybe.
Yep.
And I'm not sure in the past if all this information was on here either.
All what?
All of the information that's on the back now, like what's the increase?
Oh, right.
If that was really out there and
And really clear, yeah.
yeah, so.
One thing I don't understand when I look at this gross appropriation is if last year's budget is 11,320,000, and this year we've got a, proposed budget of 12,544,000. That's a 1.2-ish million dollar increase.
A lot of those items are from the CIP, which we've never had in the past designated as the capital improvement plan.
You want to know how we got to the 253?
Yeah, how does 1.2 million turn into 253?
It's the 496 divided into 1.2, right? If every $496,000 equals $1,
Right.
then
So you're almost, yeah,
you divide,
$2.50.
So that is a direct equation. There's nothing else involved in.
No.
Okay. Just want to make sure that's the case.
You understand his question?
I was just thinking that, with inflation, we're pretty far below the inflation rate.
I don't think that's the case.
You don't think so?
I think
Well,
it's,
what's the inflation rate?
6 point something
Six,
percent.
almost 7.
Yeah, 6.8 something.
Well, as written, this is 2.53 over 1328. This is a 19% increase.
and 95% of that is the CIP. Would you,
A lot of it's a CIP, yep.
95%, that much?
No.
close?
Well, that's why that's why I'm curious of breaking it out, because I don't know how much those officers are. I don't, the dispatcher. Cost-wise, each one of those could be,
do you have the preliminary warrant there, Scott? Can you tell me the warrant article for the police officer, how much that is?
106,000.
That's the police officer?
Yep.
And how much is a dispatcher?
81,000,
And how much is a fire?
89,250.
So it's,
That includes benefits.
right.
Is that
so 90 plus 80
170 and another
plus
100?
100.
So 106, that's 21 cents. 81 is 16 cents. And 89
Last one is 18 cents.
is 18 cents.
Those two like the
So,
bonds would be.
all totaled, that's 55 cents.
And then if you add on your, just quick numbers here. If you add on the 250 for
For
your
the
first,
bond.
for the bond payment,
100,000.
so there's 350
So
for those two items,
250 for the for the solar,
right?
that's another 50 cents. And then the 100, oops, clear.
Backwards.
100. Isn't the 250 for the solar and the 100 for Main Street?
No.
No, the other way around.
Just opposite.
I'm sorry. Thank you. So 20 cents for the solar, 50 cents for Main Street. So that's half of what we're talking about, right? So that's 70, 70 plus 55. That's $1.25 in those items.
Yeah,
Out
roughly
of-
half.
You've got
So not 90% of it being the CIP,
Right.
50% of it.
Okay.
Less than 50.
I thought it was more than that.
2.5% wage increase, I don't, that one's a hard one to understand the effect of. But it ripples through the rest of the baseline budget. So transfer to capital reserve is an increase this year of 176. And then the capital equipment
Went down.
went down, so that's minus 250.
So let us,
And then what's the one above that?
land, right? It's capital land and improvements, that went up by 346.
340, yeah, capital land is plus 346. Land is 346. So overall, those three should be inclusive of the capital improvement plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 176 minus 250 plus 346 is 272.
Plus another 350 for your additional bonds and notes.
For additional bonds and notes?
Yeah, for the solar array.
Oh, I'm excluding the solar and the Main Street, just
Okay.
because I had those isolated already. So 272 over 496, so that's 55 cents. So effectively, that's the capital improvement plan, because neither Main Street or it is now part of the but that was kind of an unexpected thing. And
Right.
solar array, not that we shouldn't do it, but just in terms of how much did the capital improvement plan cost us this year? 55 cents. Our overall capital investment as represented here is $1.25.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever the remainder is would be operational expenses and wage increase.
And yeah. Yep.
1.25 plus 55. 0.25 plus 0.55. 1.8. 2.53 minus 1.8. So operational expenses and wages is 73 cents.
And is that operational expense increase closer to the inflationary number?
73 cents over 1328, 5.5%.
And so I think that's a really good way of explaining it to people. Having it broken down like that, that will make it very clear.
Right. Because this is about not, this increases because we haven't been on top of our capital, with the exception of the solar. The solar will, this year's a construction cost, and in future years covers itself.
Well, there'll still be maintenance, mowing, maintaining.
Still, the revenues that we gain from that should exceed those costs.
You should-
22,000.
Hmm?
22,000.
Well, the revenues will offset the cost of the bond for prepayment of the bond to
The
start with.
cost of the bond and some of the maintenance.
And I know that I met with Grace again today, and Grace has talked to Colin about mowing that because he's always mowed it in the past, and he's willing to mow it in that type of maintenance. And as I mentioned to her today, some of the things that I've seen on solar arrays as a building inspector is varmints getting in and chewing on the wires and things of that nature. But that's minor maintenance, replacement cost of those wires. Otherwise, everything is covered by warranty for a substantial amount of time. And there's a way to protect those with netting and screens that they can put on.
Is there any changes at all that the board would like to talk about before we get into the meeting on the 23rd? Do you understand the budget? Everybody kind of understands. We've been multiple. I just would hate to get to the public hearing and have the board ask more questions. I think it's time for the public to start asking, just so we are prepared for. We're here to help. And the department heads will be here as well. There are 3 public hearings on the 23rd, so it's going to be a pretty long night.
First is South Main Street, the second is the solar array, and the third is the
Budget.
budget. I think it starts at 5 and the budget kicks off at 5:45 based on the proposed time frame.
Right. Yep.
We did have the pre-bid meeting for the South Main Street project the other day. We had one contractor show up, Jeremy Hiltz Excavating, which had not been to any of the previous meetings. I know that HEB has made some outreach to other local contractors, not that they would absolutely show up for the pre-bid meeting, but went through all the information. All the information is online that any contractor needs with regards to FAQs that were asked at the 2 previous pre-bid meetings. So hopefully on the 27th, we see a few bids that we open and start to move forward.
Is it a nice to have, or do we need at least 3 bids?
It's nice to have. EDA doesn't like to see just one bid.
Okay. They like to see.
They like to see at least 3, if not 5.
Some competition.
Right, sure, I just wasn't sure that.
Yeah.
I like 3 bids.
I mean, we know where we are with regards to the previous bids of the $1.8 million. And hopefully we see something different that comes through the door from a local contractor versus a contractor traveling up from Massachusetts with the extensive travel cost.
Jeremy Hiltz has his own pits, his own crushing apparatus, makes all his own material.
But he didn't bid on the first time?
I'm sorry,
Hills didn't bid on the first go-around?
They didn't bid on
no,
any of them so
No.
far.
Okay.
I reached out to Jeremy when we put out the second bid and just kind of pleaded with him that you're a local contractor. We're really looking for local contractors to bid on the job. We talked to Calder out of Woodstock. We talked to Andrews out of Campton. Talked to Jeremy Hiltz. There's another local contractor that HEB had reached out to. And the only one we had any success with was Jeremy Hiltz Excavating. But we'll see what happens on the 27th of what we receive.
And we're not reading the warrant articles until the second, potentially
February
second
9th.
budget hearing
Ninth.
/ warrant articles.
because we still have some things to do with regards to the zoning amendments, making sure we get the wording from Joseph on that, as well as some additional clarifications from DRA on the warrant.
So does the board plan on recommending or not recommending at the meeting of the 9th? Is that what your plan is at this time, so that we move forward?
I think if no one shows up to the budget hearing and so there's no questions, then. Or are you talking about the warrant articles, or you're talking about the budget?
Warrant articles.
At the final.
Yeah, I think that
The
that would be
9th.
the time for us to go through and
Okay.
recommend or not recommend.
Finalize, okay. All right. Because if you don't recommend something, it probably shouldn't be on the warrant.
Right. We've been around that particular thing before.
We have.
See also Bartlett Road.
Wow.
That grudge will be there forever,
Can't drive down
Bill.
that road. Jeez, I'm
Forever.
thinking of it.
I did take a ride on New Hebron.
I did
Pretty
too.
rough.
Yeah, pretty rough.
Yeah, New Hebron's got ledge under it.
I'm trying to just quickly, I was just going through each one to make sure I didn't have any more questions. I'm trying to square the increase in the fire line. So if a new firefighter's all-in cost is 89, but the fire department's total increase is 179, where's that other 90,000 coming from?
That 25,000 is insurance.
Okay, so 25, maybe 30 if we look at retirement and life.
Yep, you could do that. And then
There's 60 somewhere.
What page are you on?
I'm on
62,000
pages
is
9
their
and 10. It's sort of split across the two.
special revenue replace, special regular replace fire is 62. And their regular fire wages is 46.
What's this, what is special regular replace?
That's when people get called back. It's like an overtime line that's kind of.
Is this if I'm trying to just recall, is this because we're struggling with the call department and so we need more money
Yes,
in that line?
yes.
We've been over expending it.
I
Looks like.
think
not by
over the
this
past
much,
few
but-
years, yeah, they have.
Yeah.
21, 22, they did for sure. Special regular replace fire, they went over.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at too. And we dropped it by 10,000 this year, assuming that that new daytime firefighter was going to reduce some of that cost there. And apparently that didn't play out.
I can't answer that, I'm
No,
sorry.
I know you
I
can't.
don't know.
I know you can't. So far, that's the one item I don't feel super confident speaking to.
Is
Total.
the overall budget for the fire department is what you're saying?
Yeah,
Just that one line?
well, I think the question is about the overall, but I think the story is in that one line.
$141,000.
Yeah, because if you look there, the total difference.
Line 341 is the line that he's on, I believe.
Yeah, I'm jumping between lines. I think that line 341 is the explanation for why line 390 shows 179,000 increase.
Well, part of it is, yep.
I mean, obviously we've got the firefighter, which is
So do you expect that to drop all the way, or?
So we get the new firefighter, which explains 89 of it,
Right.
and then benefits on lines 380, 385, 386, 387. Those ones explain another 30.
Portion of it.
Yeah, so that explains 120 of it, but where is the rest of that increase coming from? If we could, in advance of the budget hearing, if we could just get a little clarification from the chief on that, I think it would be helpful. I may have it in my notes, but I'm hoping he just has 3 sentences that clarifies it.
Yep.
The police is plus 192, but new officer, new dispatcher is 187 of that. So that one's a little easier to explain.
So with regards to that line, special regular replacement, fire, they adjusted that from 149 down to 141. And then the latter number was derived by taking the money actually spent in FY '22 and then accounting for the new position in the CBA raise. Was Chief Morrison's explanation on that.
So they had to go up because they have a new position.
Correct.
But I think what Zach is saying, if I'm wrong, say it, Zach, but with the new positions, you would think that their overtime would go down. They wouldn't be calling back as many.
They're calling back as many because the callbacks are coming in after that 4 PM when the day firefighter's gone home. So any calls that come in after 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock the next morning, any multiple ambulance calls, smoke in the building, fire-related calls, they're toning the duty crew plus a squad. And we don't have the volunteer firefighters that we used to have, that we could call in for $13 an hour. We're calling in full-time firefighters that are getting $45 an hour.
But why would that be, even with one additional person, why would that be a $60,000 increase?
I think because of the callback, but we can clarify that, Zach.
Okay.
Because during the day, even though we have 3 on during the day, there's times that there's callback when both ambulances are on a run and they get toned for a fire call. So everybody's in a vehicle and we have to call back. Or we'll call mutual aid out of Campton for an ambulance or,
Right, so we spent 112 on that line last year. I don't know where we're at this year, and we think we're gonna spend 142 in the coming year. I don't know, still just seems off, but happy to see whatever the chief's response is on that. No reason for us to
We will
speculate.
ask.
Yeah.
We'll ask.
It looks, so the other one I was trying to also figure out real quickly is the total general government line, 195,
Page was that?
page 5. Overall for general government, we're up 118. I don't think that that's any one thing. It
No.
looks like that's a little bit in every line,
We have a
although the
new,
most of it coming from executive.
change in personnel is going to be a large part of that, there in that line. And wage adjustments for other, beyond the 2.5 we had other employees who are getting wage adjustments throughout this year that we had to consider for next year as well.
Yep.
We also had increases in our health insurance, workers' comp and liability. We have a max. I mean, that's 16.2 right there on its own.
Yep, that's a good chunk of it.
Also, some employees have changed their insurance coverage. That seems to be another issue. They're entitled to it, but that, and 17.5 was the general government buildings on page 4.
Most of that's heating
Yeah.
and electricity.
We have a new piece of equipment at the cemetery. That must be his tractor?
It's a lawn tractor.
Lawn
Yeah.
tractor, yeah.
Lawnmower.
Gonna get rid of the old blue.
I don't know why.
It
It's
runs.
only like 35 years old or something.
Still got some life.
All right, I feel like I've got a good feel for what's here. I don't.
Good.
I'm good.
Everyone feel good about what's here?
53,
Yeah,
feeling good?
feel fantastic.
Okay, so we'll work on some items to help explain it, percentage-wise. Zach, you kind of got to the number that you were looking for, but we'll put it out on paper for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Ted, you'll do a,
We're gonna,
Yeah, we're gonna work.
we're gonna work on a
Yeah.
PowerPoint to.
Yeah. I'll do a first draft and shoot it your way. You and I can work a little subgroup on that.
okay, so we won't need a screen then, you'll just put it up on the
Yeah, we'll put
TV.
it up there. I'll join the meeting from my laptop and.
Okay,
Yep, and then that'll be helpful for anybody who is in the audience because we can just give context to this,
Yep.
the handout that they'll have.
We'll have handouts as well.
yeah, they'll have handouts of the budget and the CIP. I think the Energy Commission may come in with a little flyer as well. They'll be here to help you as
They are.
well.
Yeah, they
We would
will
expect
have a
that.
flyer, and Grace will be here as well.
Yep. For their 2 items. And then all the department heads will be here to try to answer any questions that the audience may come up with that we haven't thought of yet.
Okay?
There is a high school public hearing going on right now if you're interested in trying to get to that. I don't know how long it lasts, but
Yeah. I haven't gotten any exciting text updates on it yet, so it must not be
Probably
all that riveting.
non-public by now.
oh,
Everything goes into non-public.
Yeah, but then they reconvene, and if you're not around, such is life.
Yeah, I did notice that too. But I think last.
I think this is just a public hearing this time, though. I don't think it's a full meeting.
And they recording that? No,
I don't think so because
because the only person.
Jonathan's here.
The meeting should be being recorded. We have a third person who volunteered to help us
Oh.
tonight.
Oh, that's,
Excellent.
well, thank you to our volunteer.
Zach, can I have those other 2
These
veteran
ones?
exemption forms?
These ones, you don't want me to just throw them away? I think they're all signed.
No, we were expecting you to take them home with you.
Mary Ann Barnsley.
I thought I signed it.
No,
Oh, no, I didn't.
Missed one of them.
and if you think of any other handouts that might help,
another one for you.
let us know.
Didn't sign these, so-
Hey, you got some signature there.
Well, no. Hold on.
Want to hear about the inflation rate?
Thank you, sir.
It got up to like 9.5.
Since I was 8 years.
Inflation rate did?
Yeah, and now it's like 6.5.
I hear you.
And towards the end of 2023, it's going to be down to 4, less than 4. So hold out.
So everybody who's on social security got that significant increase, right? Of
Yeah.
8.7, right? I believe.
I know it was big.
What did how much, social security, how much did they get for an increase this year? Was it 8.7?
Yeah.
Yeah. So next year, you think they're only going to get a 4?
Or less.
I say only, that's still quite a bit, but,
State employees got a 10% increase.
Wow.
Yeah, it's because I think Sununu's going for president, and looks good, giving the state employees a big fat raise after, what, 10 years?
I could say the university system didn't get that much.
You might.
Oh, no, it never works that way.
Well, it's going to be a surprise probably then, because I think it's like, statewide.
did they
You have
do,
to appropriate the university system money first.
It's true.
Well,
You don't want to raise tuition.
Anything else we need in this evening? Any public comments?
I would like to see, part of the public relations and marketing of the financial operation of this municipality is have a particular section that identifies federal, state, and industry standards that have changed as the beginning of the year by laws, rules, regulations, codes, and standards that affect our budget that we have no control over. It's either through manning, pieces of equipment, policies, procedures, protocol, that we are in compliance mode, of which this board has no authority to say, no, we're not going to do that. But it affects our budget. And I've so many times in the previous 40 years that I've watched this process, people not aware of, the citizens are not aware of all those things, of all those laws, rules, regulations, codes, because it's massive. And yet it obligates a department head, town manager, whoever, obviously to comply at a cost. Administrative cost or physical cost in equipment or personnel. And we should have a part of the public relations and marketing of this, a line air section that explains that element. And obviously inflation, the same doing business A has gone up, and it could be by federal or state or industry standards. And you guys shouldn't take it on the chin because you have no authority to act to control it. You have to comply. So I really like to see part of that, because I've seen so many programs come and go, and the citizens and even the business owners did not understand the financial element of a bond or the package of the process of doing all of these projects that we've got lined up. And only because the public relations and marketing explaining it in simple terms as to why. And, there are things that we, the citizens, expect our departments to provide our service at a particular level. That's the things that we, the locals, have decided, hey, we want to have this happen. And so we obligate ourselves to do this. But there's things that come through from the federal government, state government, and industry standard. And industry is in fire codes, building codes, insurance codes, whatever, that don't get on the news, and nobody knows about them except this group here that has to respond with this budget process. So I think I'd really like to see something that kind of takes the heat off of you having to tell people why is the budget going up, where are the increases, and what's the rationale, because people don't understand why. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think the New Hampshire Government Finance Officers Association has a document maybe not as articulating as what Frank is talking, but I think they have a document that outlines that structure. And you're a member,
I am,
right?
yep.
So we'd have to tie that to ours.
It
Right?
gives an overview of the requirements from a financial perspective on running and operations of the town, of a
But then we'd
municipality.
have to explain how it impacts us.
And I think it does in this document that they have.
So we don't have to reinvent the wheel,
I don't believe we have to reinvent the wheel.
please, don't.
Comes with a big wheel.
I'd like to make a personal comment. I needed to replace a water pump on a front end loader, $1,700. A water pump. And I felt lucky that I was able to get the pump. I know people that can't get parts. So, it's something to think about.
You
You
go
gotta
to-
have good people running your equipment, maintenance. And my loader's on the old, it's kind of old, so it got tired. It's just the same,
You go to a local parts store around here and you buy a gallon of windshield wash fluid for the winter.
$4.
15.
Where?
One of the local parts stores in town for winter.
Well,
Yeah.
you figure you used to buy it for $1.69 at Walmart, right now it's $4.79, and that's in 1 year.
And that's for only 32 and above?
That's right, that's right.
It's just pink water.
It's huge.
Big.
You can't,
Yeah.
yeah, it's shocking,
I don't drive very much.
Cost, $20,000 to put 4 tires on a front end loader, just to put new tires on it.
Look at the cost of an oil change for a normal vehicle today
yeah,
versus what it was 2 years ago.
dozen
And
eggs, you know.
Chevrolet and get an oil change for $29.95. You go today, it's $99.
And that
Well, and
assumes
then
there's
you-
nothing wrong with your car when they do it. Anything else? We good?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks.
We could use a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Oh, happy to give you one, although I'll warn you, the heat's